we're finally getting into our first exercise. We're hitting the ground running, and we're going to do a bunch of these throughout the course because we want to set the stage for you to be able to build up your knowledge around SQL. And we want you to have a concrete foundation because that's what's most important here. Not the fact that we had to do all of that setup around Postgres or import all of those databases. At the end of this course, we want you to be an SQL master. We want you to feel comfortable writing selects and joins and all of these crazy SQL things. So let's start off simple. Our first exercise is give me a list of employees in the company. And so as you know, we installed a software called Valentina Studio. So let's head over there and let's remind ourselves of the question we're asking. A list of all employees in the company. All right, so here we are in Valentina Studio, and you may be more acquainted with over here, the start page. So let's go into our database. And when you're in the database overview, the schema overview basically, or the schema browser, you'll see all of our databases here. And so we talked about wanting a list of all employees in the company. So we're going to use the employees database. And then we have a schema public in here. And so if we look here, we have departments, department employees, and department managers. And then we have employees, salaries, and titles. And so our question was, we want all of the employees in the company. So it stands to reason that we may want to do a select statement against the employees table because we want to get all of them back. We want to know who they are. We want to know what they do. Someone in the company came over to you and pushed you on the shoulder and said, hey, I kind of need to know this right now. And you're like, no problem. I got you. I'm going to get all of that data right now. Well, if we were to go about that, what we would need to do is we would need to write a query. So let's go over here to our connections and let's right click. And let's say Open SQL Editor. And so this is an editor that's pointing to this instance, my Postgres database. And it has all of the databases that we were talking about. So how would we go about finding what we need? Well, first of all, in this dropdown, let's select employees. And that'll give us an overview of everything that is in employees inside of public. And then if we go inside of tables, we can see all of the tables we were talking about. Okay, so we wanted a list of all of the employees. Now, we've already looked at the basic breakdown of a select statement. So pause the video right now and try to write a query that will get you all of the data from the employees. So I hope that went well, but let's reiterate what we're trying to do here. So we're trying to select star from. And then if we want to make it simple on ourselves, let's just double click here. And it will autofill both the schema and the table. And so a schema is just us saying, hey, let's subdivide our tables under different logical names. It's a nice way of being able to separate tables and concerns in databases. But for all intents and purposes, don't worry about schemas. We're always going to work with a public schema. We're not trying to create complicated databases that are going to scale like crazy. So when you see public, just know that this is okay. We only have one schema. You could just as well remove this part and just say, hey, select it from employees. But when you do work in a larger system, there may be schemas available. And so then you may want to kind of do that. Don't worry about it at all. We'll be looking at that further down the line. For now, just focus on the fact that you can autofill by double clicking. So this is the query we're trying to run. Select star from employees. And when we execute this, there we go. Here is all of our data. Here is all of the data that we wanted. Great. We have the list of all of the employees, and there's quite a few. But that's amazing. We just wrote our first query. And it was so simple. So let's build on that a bit. Now, I'd like to know how many departments there are in a company. All right, so departments. So the guy comes over and he's like, okay, I know all the employees are here, but hey, I'm new to this company. How many departments do you have? We're SQL masters. We know how to do this. Let's go into Valentina Studio. So, as we know, here was our very first query. let's look at all of our tables and figure out from which one we should select in order to figure out how many departments there are. All right, pause the video here, try and figure it out, and when you come back, we'll solve it together. Cool. So, as you may or may not have seen, we have this table over here called departments. And if you do select star from departments and you execute that, what we can see here is that we have 9 records. So there are 9 departments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Great, we have our answer. It's as simple as that. Look at how fast we're building up our knowledge both of this database, but as well kind of trying to connect the dots together, think logically. We're going to get so far. Just you wait. So let's build on top of that. So our next question is, how many times has employee 10,001 had a raise? So this becomes a little more complicated, but then again, we haven't learned a lot of different types of queries, but we're trying to build up our knowledge. We're trying to get familiar with the data. We're trying to see how it works. So don't fret if the way that we're doing it isn't the easiest way possible. We're going to keep building on this knowledge. We're going to learn new methods. We're going to learn more complicated ways of being able to get simple answers. But for now, we're exploring. We're getting to know our database and we're getting to know SQL. And the more simple queries you write, the better a foundation you're going to have when we start throwing in all of these functions that you're going to be able to use. So let's head over back to Valentina Studio. So if we look over here at our tables, we have a bunch of them. We have departments, we have employees, we've already used both. So let's pause the video here and you guys think for a while and try to figure out the answer. And then when we come back, we'll work through it together. All right, so I hope that was fairly straightforward, but if not, don't worry, we're going to work on it together. So select star from, and over here you can see the salaries table. So let's go in there and let's see what's in there. So we were looking for user 10,001. All right, here he is, right here. Okay, so he started at a base salary of $60,117. And then he went up to $62,102. Then he went up to $66,074. Oh my God, numbers. And then up to $66,596 and so forth and so forth and so forth. Oh, this guy has a lot of raises. He must be a better employee than I am. But that being said, he goes all the way from 1 to 17. So he has had 16 raises because he started at a base salary. He didn't get a raise at this point, I guess. Well, it stands to logic. You come in at a certain salary and then you start getting raises. So he has had a total of 16 raises. Cool. Now, there are easier ways to derive this answer and there are more complicated ways of getting an exact number. But for now, we're exploring the data. We're getting to know it. Just some simple queries, just flexing those muscles, just getting a good pump before we get into the hard stuff. The next exercise. What title does employee 10,006 have? What is his title? The boss comes over and he says, hey, today was the day that everyone got new titles. They got their raises. They got their new titles. What did 10,006 get? Actually, what title does he have? I don't care about his pay. What title does he have? So let's go figure that out. So back in Valentina Studio, let's pause the video here and let's try to figure out what title the employee has. And when you come back, we'll figure it out together. All right. So I hope you explored the data a bit and figured it out. If not, we'll go through it together. So first of all, we have this titles table over here. So let's go and let's select the data from there. All right. So here we can see 10,006 is a senior engineer. Seems like he wasn't promoted anytime soon because he is currently still a senior engineer. And so if we look at this data, like, what is this 9990101? Well, that's the way the database is depicting today, to date. Because if you look at 10,005, well, he was a senior staff from 1996 to today. But before that, he was just staff from 1989 to 1996. You see that over here? So he got promoted and he's senior staff until this day. So the senior engineer did not get promoted. Well, your boss will be happy about that. All right, so now that we've flexed our muscles, now that we've went through some basic queries, explored the data, let's continue building on what we just learned. Amazing job, guys.